Hello and welcome to Giant Dreams Under Construction, the show that focuses on positive people in our community working towards building their dreams. My name's Kateri Skaarup, I'm the host, and I have Madeline Denuharat here, who is a huge volunteer, a Con College graduate, and recently elected to the board for the Métis.
Yes.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I've always lived in Thunder Bay, and I absolutely love it here. I went to school, high school at Westgate, and then I did 2 years at Lakehead, and then switched to the college. The best decision I've ever made. And I love everything outdoors, and I'm a very big people person, so I'm always involved and looking for new opportunities to get involved in the community.
Now, you graduated from Con College. It was business marketing, or?
Yes, business marketing.
And what made you decide to go into that field?
Well, when I was in high school, I always thought I was going to be a physiotherapist. So I did 2 years of kinesiology at Lakehead, and just wasn't for me. I'm a very creative person and like using my brain and exploring different ideas, but
and that's a pretty logical thing where you no room for creativity, really, eh?
Yeah, so I found out that wasn't for me, and I knew I didn't want to take a year off, and I was also really intrigued about owning my own business and being an entrepreneur. So I thought, well, why not switch to the college and take business marketing? I went to the guidance counselor, and they suggested that was the best program to do that, to become an entrepreneur. So I took it, and like I had mentioned previously, it was the best decision I've ever made.
And how long was that course?
2 years.
And so you graduated last May or June?
Yes.
And also last May 2016, you received an internship with SHIFT, the Young Professionals Network.
Yes.
So why did you apply for that job, and how does that go along with your goals and what you're aiming for?
So with SHIFT in particular, they were a really involved organization in Thunder Bay, and working with young professionals was a huge draw for me, especially because I was trying to be a young professional myself, so why not work with them? And I was actually hired before I even graduated. So
that's nice.
Yes, that was very nice. And yeah, through that organization, I met so many different people, and
now you've expanded.
Yes.
So how did you get involved with the Métis organization here in town?
It started when I was in the marketing program at the college. I applied to be an Infinite Reach facilitator, and that's where you kind of take the role of helping other Métis students in that school, whether it's they just need help finding out where their classrooms are, or just having a study buddy sort of thing, or just having someone to go for lunch with. Like it ranges from everywhere. So, and then by becoming involved in that program, I met the larger Métis community of Ontario, because they really involve their youth in their governance and like higher level things. So they sent me to the AGM, and I just met so many different people, and I still have those connections today, because I'm still very involved with the Métis.
So what year would that have been, 2015 or 2016?
Well, I started volunteering in 2015.
Okay,
yeah.
And so now, this past AGM, you were elected to the Director at Large position?
Well, I'm not quite elected yet. This coming summer is when we have our AGM. I just recently became a part of council last month.
Okay.
And so just getting used to that role. But I've been involved in that governance level for a while, because they include you right away. So it's a very easy transition from just kind of becoming a volunteer and moving into that higher level.
And so now you get paid, or
Or
you're still volunteering?
We get honorariums.
Okay, yeah. I get that, yeah.
So not necessarily paid, still volunteer. If we didn't get the honorariums, I would still be doing it. It's a very important part of my life, and being involved in that community has expanded so many connections. And
so you chose to work with the Métis organization. So what is your exact background then?
I am Métis.
And where is your family originally from?
Here in Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay is a rights-bearing Métis community.
Okay.
But my First Nation side comes from Grand Portage and just kind of moves up. But there's only a few actual rights-bearing Métis communities in Ontario, and Thunder Bay is one of them.
And what do you mean by that? Like, is that like how others have status cards, or what do you mean by that?
It's similar to that. We have like rights to harvesting and land use and things like that, whereas other communities such as Toronto, they're not necessarily a historical Métis area. It's just where Métis people now reside. But in Thunder Bay, it's a very historic area for Métis, and we can trace back our heritage hundreds of years ago, sort of thing, to the Métis culture in this area.
And would that have to do with like the voyageurs? Or,
yes, and like Old Fort William in that area. And then it kind of, we're in region 2 of the Métis treaties.
Okay, because I know the big building on the corner of May and Arthur Street, right? Yeah, they have what looks like it's a big mural, but it has a voyageur and a canoe, no?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, so that's kind of why I asked that question. Now, do you, like, how old are you? Because you've done quite a bit, and I know you're pretty young still.
I'm 22.
See, that's pretty young to have done everything that you've done. Now, what do you want to do with all of this in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, kind of becoming a part of council in the Métis regard just kind of allows to have more of a say. And in Thunder Bay, there is a lack of representation, well, I shouldn't say engagement with our Métis citizens. And I would love to see just a greater sense of community here in Thunder Bay, because we are a very historical area and not too many people know that. Even our citizens in Thunder Bay don't necessarily want to or have engaged with us. So some other youth and I and the council are looking at bringing in more events, just creating that bigger sense of community here. For example, in Sault Ste. Marie, they have a really big Métis community, and some of my friends they remember going to Métis events when they were really, really young, and they've grown up in that whole culture. Whereas the first Métis event ever really in Thunder Bay that had over 40 people, we had it last month, and it was just a very casual event that I and a couple other youth put together. And
was it like a feast, or what did you guys do?
It was a spring festival, we called it. So we had food there, and we did a big call out. We did a lot of social media promotion, just trying to get our citizens to come out, and it was a really great turnout. We had over 40 people, and that's the most we've ever been. We are definitely looking, because we have like 800 citizens in Thunder Bay.
All right.
So we're looking to really expand that engagement and, like I mentioned, create that greater sense of community here.
And what's the difference between, like, I'm from Fort William, so what's the difference between, just in case if viewers don't know, what's the difference between Métis and Ojibwe, like the people from our reserve here and the Métis community? Is there a big difference, like culturally or with traditions, or are they pretty much the same?
There is a difference, I would like to say. With the Fort William First Nations, that's a status First Nation. And when you have our Métis citizen cards, it's not, like, we're not considered status.
Okay.
The difference is basically, like, we grew up, we're voyageurs historically, not saying that First Nations weren't.
But the ones here didn't have to be, really, because we had the trading post here.
But we have like the jigging, the beadwork's a little bit different. We have the
regalia.
Symbol, it's basically a sash, so that's a difference, And
you guys are part French too, right? Or
that is a very traditional version of Métis, but not necessarily all Métis were French and First Nations.
Okay.
That I'm not French at all. I'm actually First Nations and European. So it was just basically when Europeans came over and married into First Nations families, that's where it came from, but we weren't necessarily French.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, you're teaching me and the viewers at the same time because, yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions, and unless you ask, you're never going to know.
Mm-hmm.
You're the perfect person to ask, too, because you're right involved in it.
Yeah.
Now, you wanted to start your own business. That's why you went into the course at Con College.
Mm-hmm.
Have you decided what type of business you're going to start, or are you just going to use that knowledge to help different communities in a business sense? Like, what's your plan there?
I was always originally, it was a restaurant, kind of out of left field, but that's definitely kind of transformed into having a space where people can have these type of discussions, not necessarily just about First Nation Métis people, but anything. Creating a space where people can come and have these open discussions and feel safe to have them and ask those questions that might not be very comfortable. So basically like a venue.
Okay. And to do events. Then,
yes,
I guess.
and to host events. And with Shift, as you know, I've done a ton of events.
It's the main job role with them, I know that. And you know people like Charlotte Brown, and you work with Charlotte Robinson with the Chamber. So yeah, you have really good people around you, even with like Amanda Bay or people like that, where they're just constantly doing events and promotions.
Yes.
So I just want to say, like, thank you for coming out. And if there are any other students in your program or anybody in the Métis community, anybody really, what would you want your message to be that resonates?
I would say getting involved is a huge thing. If you're not involved, you never really know what you like and what you don't like, where your passions are. I found a huge passion for creating a greater sense of community, and that can apply to a lot of things. In my new job with the Chamber, with Shift, creating that sense of community within the young professionals in Thunder Bay. And I just found that out through getting engaged and being involved. So I would say,
just get involved in your community.
Yes.
And yeah, whether you get paid or not, you always have to give back.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Maddie, for taking your lunch break to come here and do the interview today. And we will be right back.